to this exciting session of tutorial on SPSS. This is our second session, and today we are going to learn how to use this function of transform, which you can see here in this window which is open in SPSS version 20. Right, so what you can see in front of you is a data set wherein you have variables like age, relationship, marital status, level of education, occupation, income, and there are three other variables which refer to questions asked in this study. Now this is a study which was done on 144 female subjects testing about the practice of female circumcision. So what we are going to learn today is how can we transform one variable into another. Now we have seen in the earlier tutorial session that we may have to change one variable into another depending on what we need to summarize from our data set. Now as you can see in this particular sheet, you have marital status which has been captured as married, single, and widowed. Okay, we can transform this marital status which is captured as a string variable by making it numeric by using this particular function of transform. We can also change the level of education, which you can see here, which has got around 7 categories like not educated, preschool, primary school, secondary level, tertiary level, primary and secondary level dropout. So there are around 7 categories. I may have to reduce down these categories when I have to present the data, so that it is more understandable and more comprehensible as compared to if I put 7 different categories in front of people to read. So let's first begin how to use the function of recode in SPSS. So if you go to the transform window, you can see recode as recode into same variable, recode into a different variable, and automatic recode. Now we'll first look at how to use the function of automatic recode. So I click on automatic recode. Another window pops in which you can see that these are the variables which you have in your study, which you may have to select if you have to put a new name to this variable or if you have to recode it. From an earlier session I have education which has been recoded. Let's get it back first. Okay, now we are interested in recoding marital status. Okay, so what I do is I click marital status so that it comes in this window. You can see here a lot of question marks. It's asking me for this variable marital status, what is the new name you want to give? So I'm going to give it the name as MS Recode or marital status Recode. Once we have typed in the new name, we add this new name. Once you click on add new name, the OK button now is active. So what you can do is you just click OK. Now once you click OK, look at what happens. Your viewer window opens, and what happens is your old value of married gets transformed into a new value which is 1. Your old value of single becomes transformed into a new value 2, and widowed gets transformed into a new value which is 3. And each of these, as you can see here, gets a value label. So now if I go to my variable view, we are now in the data view. If I go to the variable view, what you can see here is after the last variable of your study, the original variables, you can see MS Recode, that is the new variable which I have added, which stands to be numeric because I have recoded now it into a numeric variable, and with the value labels which are labeled as married, single and widowed as 1, 2 and 3 respectively. So if you click OK, you know that this is the new variable which has been added. Now what happens here is you can see in the labels 2 same labels, marital status and marital status, but the names are different. So if you want to change the label name here, you can still do it. So you can just add it as marital status recoded, wherein you have transformed, you have recoded this variable which was a string variable into a numeric variable using the function transform, under which we have automatic recode. Now let's go back to the data view and try to look at transforming some other variable. As I said earlier, let's transform the level of education from 7 categories into 2 categories. And to do this, now what I'm going to use is the function of recode manually which has got again two variations, recode into same variable and recode into different variables. Now what's the difference? And now a tip to remember with SPSS is it's better to recode our existing variable into a different variable. Reason being, if you need to use the original variable, you can have a look at the original variable if you recode it into a different variable. However, if you recode into same variable, what happens is this variable, whichever you select and you put it in this window, gets replaced by a new variable. So what happens is your original variable no longer exists, which may at times be difficult because you may have to have a look at that variable for some different analysis in your study. So let's look at how to transform education level by using recode into different variables. So once I click recode into different variable, this window which pops up, I can clear off the values which were used earlier. So I'm going to put level of education into this window, wherein it's asking me what's going to be the name of the new variable. So can you see this? This education level now is a numeric variable. I'm going to recode it as level of education recode. I'm keeping it as short as I can, and then here I put it as level of education recoded, and I click change. Now once I change, yes, the question mark has gone away and the output variable is here now, but I need to indicate now what are going to be the new values for this output variable, for which I need to have a look at this button, that is old and new values. So I click on that. Once I click, another window opens. Now these are the values which were used for earlier variables, so I need to clear them off if they do exist. This is not for the variable which we are using now. Our variable is education level, so let's look at how to do it. So now if you remember from your variable view earlier, we have 7 categories of level of education. So in this, just to inform you, category number 1 is not educated. Let's have a look at it and then we go on to this window. So we will redo it again. So if you see education level, you can see here there are 7 categories. 1 stands for not educated, 2 stands for preschool, 3 for primary, 4 for secondary, 5 for tertiary, 6 for primary level dropout, and 7 for secondary level dropout. Now my interest is to reduce these 7 categories into just 2 categories, one being illiterate and the other being literate. So I would classify categories 1 and 2 under illiterate and categories 3 until 7 as literate. So what do I do? Let's go back. Let's go to transform. Let's go to recode into different variable, wherein I want to recode level of education, and I put it as edu level recode as an output variable, and the name would be level of education recoded. So I change it, and from there I change my output variable with old and new values now. So what I need to do now, you can see on the left you have old value and on the right you have new value. So how do we go about doing this? What we do now is we first remove if there are any old values which have been used for other variables. Yes, so now you go to your old value. Your old value 1 and 2, as I said, now I want to convert them into one value, right? So the not educated group, the value 1, I will retain it as value 1. Once you click here, you can see the add button becomes active. You click add. So now what you can see in this window is the old value which was labeled as 1 gets transformed into new value which also I have labeled as 1. Now my old value was 2, which is preschool. I would want it to be in the illiterate category, which in the new values I am going to put as 1. So again it becomes 1. Now the rest of the values, that is number 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, I want to put it as 2. So what I go over here is I put all other values and I put it as 2. So SPSS will read the values from 3 until 7 as all other values, and all of them get converted into value 2. So I add it. So then I continue. Having done all this, I have to click on OK in order to generate a new variable or recode our education level into a different variable. So once I click OK, what happens is the output window says that we have already recoded. Now let's look at the new variable. Now point to be noted here is in the variable view, the recoded variable will appear at the last, that is the last row. Whereas in the data view, the recoded variable will appear as the last column. Can you see here now that you can see only two categories, 1 and 2 here. Now in the variable view, I can label my categories, one being illiterate and 2 being literate, right? Having done this, I click OK. So we have a new variable of level of education being created with only two categories from the original variable of level of education. So since I recoded the level of education into a different variable, I can see my original variable here and my recoded variable at the end. So if you toggle between the data view and variable view, you can see that this is a numeric variable. Education level recode is a numeric variable, and I can check what each category is against this particular original level of education variable. So that's all about recode and transforming one variable into the other. We can also transform a variable which is continuous in nature. Now what we did was we classified and coded education level into another categorical variable. We can also recode a continuous variable like age, which has been captured in actual number of years, into a new variable. How do we do that? So to do that, we again go into recode into different variable. We remove the original one which I had used, that is education. We put age in there, and I give it a name like age recode as the output variable. So this is age. I want to put it as age groups, so I give it a label as age groups, and you can see the output variable is here already. Let's look at what are the old and new values. So let's remove what we did for education earlier. We will have to do that. That's unfortunately we have to do it before we go to the next. Now what I need to do for age is I want to put the age in range. That means I have a age here in this study ranging from 3 until 90 years. So the woman who is the youngest in this group is 3 years old and the oldest is 90 years old. So now in order to put all these individual ages into groups, what I will do is I will create a range from 0 until 20 years. So 20 years, and I give it a value as 1. So my old value of 0 to 20 becomes 1. Now the next range I would like to make is 20 through 40, giving it a number 2. Now you may realize here that the number 20 is there in the previous category as well as in the next category. Now you need to remember here that when you make such categories, if you have the age captured as 19, it will get into this category, whereas 20 onwards until 39 you will get into the next category. So that's quite important to remember. You can also make categories wherein you can make 0 to 20, 21 to 40 and so on, but this is the way which I would like to do here. So the next category which I want to make is 40 to 60, giving it a number 3, then 60 to 80, which giving number 4. You have to realize over here that the intervals between these ages are equal in all the groups. Now my highest value, as I said, was 90. So what I want all who are more than 80 years as one category. So what I do is I click on range value through highest. So the highest value would be more than 80 and I give it a number 5. Having done all this, I am through with all the categories I need. So I put it as, I continue and I click OK. Having done this, it's already executed. So if you go to your data view, you can see the last column as age recode, and here you can see the numbers 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, which were the values which we gave, for which we may have to give the value labels. So my number 1 is 1 to 20 years. Number 2 is 20 to 40 years. Number 3 is Number 3 is 40 to 60 years. Number 4 is 60 to 80 years. And number 5 is interesting, wherein we will have to put the symbols more than equal to 80 years, because I would like to include all those who are 80 years and above in this group. So I add it and I click OK. Now, if you go to your data view, you can toggle between the value labels and the values, and you can check these are the age intervals which I have put. So what I did just now was I recoded age, which was captured as a continuous variable wherein you had 144 different values, into intervals of 20 starting from 0 years onwards until more than 80 years. So by this way, I can reduce the amount of data for presentation. What I mean by this is, now if I run the analyze descriptive statistics with frequencies, if I want to know how many people are there in each age group, I will have to go to the recoded variable, that is age groups. I put it in the variable column, and when I click OK, what I get is a nice table which has got 5 categories or 5 age group intervals, and in each category, in each group, you can see the frequency as well as the percentage. So here for the 144 study subjects, we can see that maximum number of women in the study lie in the age group of 0 to 20 years, followed by 40 to 60 years. So this kind of transformation of data helps us in making the data more presentable and understandable when we analyze it. So that's all from me today. I hope you like this session. So please do subscribe and let me know your comments. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.